Welcome to my craft table. Hi, this is Jamie Magritte. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. I'm also going to do a simple stamping version and an avid version as well. This is the more intermediate version. Well, let's get started. Products that you're going to need, set that aside, are the three largest of the square framelits, layering squares, basket weave folder for the, this is the intermediate version, Tidings all around, we're using this stamp set here, and seasonal wreaths, we're using the Grateful for Your Kindness. And these are two of the stamp sets that are in the upcoming holiday Creativity is Calling catalog that will start on September 4th through January 2nd, 2020. If you're a demonstrator or sign up to be a demonstrator, you can order them now. Or you can wait until September 4th, and if you see something you'd like, then let me know and I'll help you order it. Okay, so let's put these things aside. I've already, for the sake of time, since I'm doing 3 cards, done my embossing and my die cutting, but I will go through and show you how I did everything. Alright. We're going to be using crumb cake, soft suede, memento. For the final card, the avid card, I may use Versamark in gold heat embossing, but we'll play it by ear. And then I have some pieces of the flax ribbon, the white flax ribbon, and we'll be using a few of these metallic pearls, the gold ones. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the beginner one first. The card base for this is a standard card base, 5.5 by 8.5. I scored it and folded it at 4 1/4. Then I have a layer to go on the top of that. You could stamp directly on this, but I just like the layers. It just feels better. And this is 4 1/8 by 5 1/4. Okay, so let's start with that. And we're going to take this stamp and the crumb cake ink. Here. For some reason I got a shadow. I don't know quite why. I'm going to ink up the stamp. And down here in this bottom corner, I'm going to stamp this image. Okay, then I'm going to open up the soft suede. Before I do the soft suede, I'm going to do the sentiment, and that's going to be memento. Let's move these ribbons before I get ink all over. Okay, so let's do the sentiment first, and it's going to be in the memento. Grateful for your kindness. And make sure it's good and inked. It is a photopolymer stamp, so if it's your first time using it, stamp it off onto scratch paper a couple of times. And I want that to be about here. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to take those little dots that were also in Tidings all around, these ones right here. And I'm going to use the soft suede ink. And on the top of these branches, I'm just going to stamp a couple of these, just so it doesn't look like there's branches just floating out there with nothing on them. Okay, and I'm going to mount this to the front of my card base. Now you can mount it flat, and I think I'm going to use dimensionals just to give it a little bit of something. There's one in each corner, at least one in the center. Put your finger in it, peel off the back. It does two things. It makes sure the dimensional is stuck to the paper, and it flips up that backer just a hair so that you can get it off. Okay, bring in my card base. Make sure this is right side up. There you go. That's a very simple, basic beginner card. You could add a little bow on there. Let's bring in the flax. Baker's twine. Let's make a bow. Oops, where'd you go? Okay, let me bring in a glue dot. I'm going to roll up the glue dot on the back of my little bow. Oops, got one on my finger too somehow. Alright. Stick to the bow, not to my fingers. Let's just put this down here. Alright, there's our beginner card. Very simple, but very pretty. Okay, now let's step it up a notch. Let me stick this back on here so I can use it later. Well, maybe I won't be able to, but that's alright. It's sticking to my finger. So let's get it into the garbage. Okay, so the next one requires a few layers. This one that is the second level. Okay, so what I've got here is my card base. Again, it's 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I have a layer of thick Whisper White, which is 4 by 5 1/4, and I've used the smallest of the, there's 3 sizes down from the top, so it's the largest one, second largest, and third largest. So the smallest of those 3, the third largest, and I've cut out a square out of the bottom, a little bit to the left side of that. This piece I'll set aside to stamp on. This piece I have run through the basket weave embossing folder. Okay. Then I have a piece of crumb cake, which is an 1/8 inch smaller than my 4 1/4, so it's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and out of the center of that I've cut out the second to the largest of the layering squares. Okay, then I've cut from the largest of the layering squares a piece of the soft suede. So these will stack on top of each other. We might as well do that now. I'm just using snail for this. Okay, I'll do that. And we're going to place these aside. Actually, I think I will go ahead and adhere this piece to the front of the card as well. Make sure you have it, well, I guess this one doesn't matter. This one, it was just cut out of the center of. So we just need to glue it down. Trying to be a little bit just bearing with my tape runner because I'm a little bit low and I don't want to run out during my video. Okay, so center that on the front of the card. There's just going to be 1/8 of an inch all the way around it. Come on. Line up the top to 2 sides. It should lay down. There we go. It's better. Okay. This piece is going to get layered over the top of that, but you want to make sure this square is down at this edge. And again, we're going to use snail, but this time we're going to use more of it because it's very dimensional and we want to make sure it's going to stay down. You could use your Tombow, that would work too. I'm trying to show you different alternatives. Okay, so that's going to layer within the brown piece. Okay, so we'll set this aside. Set this aside. This is going to get dimensionals on the back of it. And on this piece, we're going to do the same stamped image that we did on the first card. We're going to stamp this with a crumb cake. Awesome. We're going to stamp the sentiment with the black, with the Memento black. It's going to overlap that quite a little bit. Perfect. And we're going to take the little berries and we're going to stamp those with the soft suede. Okay. And we're going to mount this with our tape runner to the center of this one. See, there's a perfect 1/8 inch border around it. Okay, then this is going to get dimensionals put on the back of it. Okay, now we're going to bring in our card base. We're going to bring in a piece of that flax ribbon. I'll lay the ribbon down. Take our piece and figure out where we want it on here. It's going to cover up this hole that we have in the middle. Okay, so now let's bring in, oops, don't set it on there. Bring in a couple glue dots. Put a glue dot in the center and on each end of this ribbon. You could also run a piece of snail across there, that'll work also. Okay, so about 1/3 of the way from this square, and the straight edge goes on the straight edge of the card. Okay, then we'll bring this in and cover up our hole. Okay, then we're going to bring in those little gold pearls. And where is my, there I go, just take your pick tool. I like to use this putty end. And I just pick up a pearl and stick it on. It would help if it didn't have dog hair stuck to it. Let's put one over here. And put one over here. This one needs it in a different spot. I think I've stamped this over this way a little bit more. I want to do that visual triangle, so oh, where'd it go? Maybe it didn't stick. There we go. Yeah, I think I need one up in here. Okay, there we go. So there's our second card. So here's the first card, here's the second card. It's the same exact layout, just a little bit fancier. Okay, now let's do the third one. It has exactly the same it has the Whisper White piece with the center cut out of it. It has the Crumb Cake piece with the center cut out of it. I have the soft suede piece. So these three are layered together exactly the same way. And then out of a 3-inch square, I took the largest frame, the largest, that one? Yeah. The largest one, this one. And I cut out of the center of it another square. So you could either not use this brown square, but I'm going to use the frame that it created. And then instead of a card base, I'm going to use the gold edged card, the foil edged card that is found in the annual catalog. Okay, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is stamp my layer here. I'm going to do it the same way as before. And we're going to stamp our little leaf flourish. Okay, we're going to stamp our sentiment with the black. Make sure it's good and inked. Then this time, instead of using the brown for the dots, I'm going to bring in my chamois and wash it off, and I think I'm going to use gold heat embossing. So let's put this one away. Actually, I'm done with all these inks, so let's put them away so I don't get it all over everything. And let's bring in the Versamark. Because I don't want to get ink all over everywhere, let's bring in my embossing buddy. And since it might be damp, I'm just patting it so I don't get ink everywhere. Alright, let's bring in those little oh, I didn't get that very clean. Try that again. Much better. Alright, tap, tap, tap. We need one down here. Tap, tap, tap. We need one up here. One up here. Okay. Bring in our gold embossing powder. I'm going to heat emboss that, and I will be right back. Actually, let me just bring it in and I'll just do it. I'm just warming up my gun here. Alright, now it's time to put this card together. Okay, so we're going to do the same layering that we did. We're going to take our card base, we're going to take the crumb cake layer, layer it on first. There's going to be that 1/16 of an inch border around the edge. Okay, then we're going to take this piece and we're going to glue that on. Make sure that that cutout is down at the bottom. And again, make sure you have plenty of adhesive on this one because it's very bumpy. Makes it stick a little bit better. Okay, oh, we want that hole at the bottom. Okay, this time there's going to be that 1/8 of an inch border. It's a little bit more difficult to see the crumb cake on the gold. Okay. Now we're going to layer up these ones. And there's that 1/8 of an inch border. And this one as well, 1/8 of an inch border. Okay, this piece will get put on with dimensionals. Okay, before we put this on, we're going to put that ribbon on. Let's bring in our ribbon and our glue dots. I'm going to add one in each end and one in the center. Oops, stick. Okay, we're going to put this one down here at the bottom third of that square. Okay, we're going to center this one right up over that hole that is in there. Now this one we need to glue down with the wet glue. Make sure it's straight. So I'm bringing my wet glue and I just want tiny little bits, like almost nothing, because we don't want it to ooze out the side. See, I don't know if you can see how little I'm using. Like little teeny tiny spots. Okay, this is going to get glued down to the card right around the frame here. It's just a slightly bit bigger than the... There you go. Move it around a little bit. That's what's nice about the wet glue, till it's where you want it. Since it cut that frame, that layer out of the center, it should fit very nicely right around it. Okay, then I'm going to come back in with those gold pearls and I'm going to add a couple of those as well, because that's a dimension that the embossing doesn't have. Let me just use this to make sure that foil is stuck down. Okay. Grab 3 pearls. Let's add one on top of that embossing. One there. One over here. And one over here. And then let's add a baker's twine bow to this one also. I'm gonna do it up. Let's do it up good. Glue dot. This time I'm going to roll it with my scissor first. It sticks to my fingers too bad. Alright, grab that bow. Let's figure out where we want it. Do we want to put it over here? Or do we want to put it like here? If you have any of the sticky from the glue dots still sticking out, you can take your embossing buddy and it'll take the sticky off. Okay, there's our 3 cards. There's the Avid with the gold embossing and the gold edges. Here's the Intermediate. We added the embossing folder, we added the dies. And here's the beginner version. It's just a single layer stamped on and added a ribbon. 3 very beautiful cards using the same exact layout, the same exact supplies, just adding a few extra touches. Well, thank you for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day.